Do I need to hold up the microphone? No, I don't think so. So just in case, this will be 4 questions. Can you hear me well? You didn't say that I'm also working on animated movies, and I would always add that because my dream, as many filmmakers have this dream to make the movies by yourself, because why do you need all this chaos on the set if I can sit in front of the computer and just have fun? You also mentioned that to the extent that people are necessary, they're necessary. There was the wedding was yesterday in the TV Cultura. Maybe I was under the impression, and I hope that with the budget of small movies, it was difficult to share this money. You either had to. I had to ask these people to work for me for free. So the reality of the current world is, in order to limit the costs, if we're using artificial intelligence, you have to earn as much money as possible. This is the dream of any businessman, any business, but the film industry is an industry, and in Poland maybe because this business is, I would say, a bit wobbly. We have a varied quality, and I wanted to get through those qualities. So if you don't know me, I will give a small introduction of myself. I was taking care of, I was doing film, I was doing animated movies. What was I was most interested in was the possibility of combining technologies to get the effect that I couldn't get having a photo camera. So when I was taking a picture, for example, of a person or a urban space, I didn't feel comfortable. So I did collages to the extent that until I was able to achieve something tangible. The most known of my projects, which won a Golden Lion in Venice, which it didn't. The work that I did at that time, the change of function of a building, thanks to which, where I was bringing together 2 totally distinct, separate worlds, like the roundabout in Warsaw, we changed into Columbarium, the cemetery. I realized that what am I actually doing? I'm actually collecting data on reality of all sorts. I collect information about the building. I collect the data on some, prison architecture. So the mix of my colleges, I would say today, is something that it resembles the feeding AI with data. I was doing that for the need of one collage. So it took me a month to prepare such an image. Today, thanks to AI, one image like that I can generate within seconds. And if I wanted to do a photo montage, what I wanted to combine photographies with AI-generated pictures, it took me maybe a day, but only because I was sort of I wasn't sure about the result and I wanted to change some details. So finding a prompt for this took me a bit more. It occurs that depending on what data we will feed to the model, this is the effect we will get out of it at the end. The majority of models are fed with data that is quite commonly that are quite mundane and common. So if AI didn't ever see a melting block of flats, if you write a prompt, a melting block of flats, you will not get the effect. I had to convince the AI and lie a lot and try to lure it into something that AI made a mistake. Finally, I made a mistake. I made a few mistakes in my writing. Maybe this errors that I introduced in the prompt allowed me to achieve a certain effect, which I saved it in my prompt, and I was copy pasting it, just modulating some parameters. Why this happens and why, according to me, a prompt is not important sorry, prompt is important, but doesn't mean anything. We'll talk about that in a while. Don't get attached too much to your prompts. Do not think about the prompt as a creative element. Don't think about a generated image from Midjourney or ChatGPT as creative process. Why do I think it's an oversimplification when I say that when we say that an image generated by artificial intelligence is too simplistic? I'll talk about it in my lecture. In order to understand ourselves well, so that you trust me that I didn't come up with it yesterday and I have it thought out, I have to relate to a more intimate, private story. Jonathan, it's about his birth. Jonathan, as we were misinformed about his health, we didn't know he was born with Down syndrome. That was a shock for me, because as a humanist who barely got a C in biology, I had to earn information about how an organism of a Down syndrome afflicted child works. So the more I was thinking about how this organism works, to what extent it functions, suddenly it occurred that we cannot think about an organism only in the categories of a whole. We have to think about it, how this organism works at the cellular level. Why? Because if now you are interested in a diet today, this is a very trendy topic. When you're taking supplements, it's not about supplementing vitamins really. It is about what we've learned about food, that the food is not that if I eat a piece of bread, piece of meat or salad, that it gets glued to my body and my hand is made out of salad and my leg is made out of meat. This is all being divided into very, very small particles. And what we feed our body with, we are feeding actually the cells. So taking a supplement, we are trying to feed this very small part of our body. Because where you have the nucleus, it contains a very important information. This information is called DNA. And thanks to the DNA, other cells that after the death of this one single cell, some cells lived for three days and some for 7 years in our body. So the short-lived ones, so for example those in your intestines, they live just for 3 days. So if we have to keep this DNA in a good condition, we have to feed ourselves what? So if you know about Krebs cycle, so ATP production thanks to the functionality of a cell, you start to understand that if the cell generates energy, we have this energy. For me, that was a shock, because I suddenly realized that if I have a child with the Down syndrome whose metabolism is distorted, then in order to feed the child, the diet is there to start the processes that are distorted by the DNA distortion. And sorry for this biological lengthy introduction, but only in that way I could understand how you feed the artificial intelligence, because the process that we're dealing with today is what we see as a certain final effect of this feeding process. The process itself, the process of feeding the algorithms, is a very fresh thing. And even though the first algorithms that mathematicians knew about them, that mathematics is able to teach itself other mathematical formulas, it was assumed by the mathematicians already in the 19th century. Even I read in the 17th century there was a mathematician who was thinking whether mathematics cannot calculate itself. Even the Greeks maybe thought about it, but nobody could so boldly express this idea, because a human being is in the center of the world than mathematics. So we had to change our point of view. If we change our point of view, at least for the time of this lecture, we will understand each other better. So I gave you this biological introduction. So now let's think, what does it mean feeding the data? What are we feeding? In the English language, This is feeding the data. It is that data ingestion. So filling the artificial intelligence with the data in the Chinese language, it's similar, but I like it more because it's infusion. This shiku means infusing with data. This resembles our process of infusing your cells with different microelements. Where do the data goes? Because there is a certain misunderstanding that we're feeding physical data. My understanding is, for example, if I have on my disk here all sorts of files, these files I could call them almost physical. It's a closed zip, JPEG, or whatever format of a closed entity that we feed into the model, and the images are there. But that's not true. These images are not there. You don't. There is a certain trace of them, but they're physically not there. I'll tell you why. Do you understand me? This is a question that I challenged myself with when I was wondering what are we actually feeding with the data. During the workshops that I'm holding, I was wondering, what does AI see? What is this thing that AI sees? If it doesn't have eyes, and the camera, what is a camera? Especially a digital camera, because an analog camera, we're not able to feed AI with analog stuff. We need to feed the models with pixels, with some data. So in order to understand each other even better, I will show you that it's not only us who are thinking what is reality and how does it look like. I think 19th century to be the beginning of the scientific thought what an image is. Of course, the ancient Greeks were very good in perspective, and especially if you take into account the sculpture. But the modern understanding of what image is started from the scientific approach. It's not important what is the topic or a certain fashion in painting or in fine arts, but what does it mean that I'm painting? What does it mean that the cathedral in Rouen looks like this in the morning, and in the evening it looks like that? The question is this the same cathedral if we are seeing it in a different way? If the colors are different? If even depending on how we crop the picture, is it still the same cathedral? Of course, the cubists afterwards asked the question, what if I walk around this cathedral? From which perspective is it really cathedral? Today, we already have 3D, and we know this, but it's impossible to see the cathedral from every perspective at once. So we have a certain image of a cathedral which accumulates in our brain. So now this accumulation of what we have in our brains, we need to accumulate into an AI model. You've heard about models, right? What is a model? If you were to think about it, what is an AI model? Model is it is some sort of a file. For stable diffusion, for example, is only a 6 GB file. Sometimes an image is bigger, or if I have a bigger piece of a video. So how you can put so many pictures into a 6 GB file? Can you imagine what is inside there in the model? And why are we creating this? I will show you this on the example of one simple image. We have a fish. It has pixels. Is it a fish according to you? It's not. Well, it has eyes. It has a tail. We feel that it is a fish. From the point of view of artificial intelligence, this is a collection of pixels in given locations. Each pixel refers to a certain mathematical algorithm which has a color depth based on 3 basic colors. So this simple the simple fish, if you take away the color, calculating 100 by 100 pixels in order to make other connection of pixels to make any sort of noise out of this, we have 100 million possible connections of the pixels. This is an incredible amount of data. Why am I telling you that? Because the model every time analyzes the pixels of different works that the model saw, and it saw like 100 million, 10 million of those works. So now multiply 10,000 million of works with 100 million connections. There are no such numbers. There's no name for such numbers. In order to generate that, all the possible pictures, I would suck up the whole energy of the universe. That translates into huge energy consumption of those calculation models. The same happens to the language. If you heard about large language models, LLM, exactly the same happens with the language. So ChatGPT, fed with millions of texts, millions of books, novels, doesn't have those those books physically. They're not even existing as a clipboard in Word. They are a certain mathematical concept, a certain algorithm of how artificial intelligence, while reading all those texts, analyzed them in a mathematical way and statistical way, and got to certain assumptions or certain conclusions, which are an algorithm. To compare it to a mathematical, to compare it to algorithm, we know C square is equals A square plus B square. It's an algorithm of the world. We all know what it relates to. Like E equals MC square. Yeah, of course, every mathematician would say this is not a full equation. Okay, absolutely is, but this is enough for us to approximate that on the top of this whole huge mass of algorithms, there's this one, E equals MC square. LLM works in a very similar way. And similarly, all the generative systems work. Which relate to images or sounds. We'll talk about films later. I can see that you're interested. That slowly it starts to dawn on you what we're tackling with. We have to tackle a huge requirement for energy, which is, it's still cheaper and less energy intensive, is to use what we already have. You still have to talk to people. You have to call somebody to give them something to food. It's having a crew is still much cheaper than generating a huge amount of data by a huge amount of energy. Each frame is generated anew. In order to do that, there are certain processing slowing down the artificial intelligence, because otherwise we would wait for every image for like 5 hours, and we would wait for one movie for our whole life. So it makes no sense. So out of these colorful images here, to simplify, I'm showing you a black and white picture. What an artificial intelligence does, certain mathematical equations proposed by mathematicians and data scientists, is what would happen if we try to compress the data into a certain mathematical action. What if we analyze, let's say we have this kernel here. The kernel are like these, the white mesh here. What if we looked at this pickaxe, and the kernel would create a system that is logical for artificial intelligence, not for us, where after connecting the LLM or connecting the language model, we would connect this kernel with the language data. And thanks to that, we would be able to create a certain noise, record it in a form of mathematical noise, and we would be able, by analyzing pixel by pixel a picture of a cat, get a picture of a cat. I understand you got lost right now, so let me come back one step. The most important thing is that you remember one thing. A picture of a fish is not within the model of AI. It's a certain mathematical concept and not fish concept. it's not a fish. From the point of view of artificial intelligence, we are a sort of people who were sort of attacking it with some sort of rise. If from point of if we're we humans from the point of view of artificial intelligence, we're like a Röntgen rays, X-rays. So and the role of artificial intelligence is to compress the data. So I'm feeding the algorithms of artificial intelligence with a picture of a cat, or certain mathematical algorithms that are embedded in the model, and it changes all those all those pixels. They combine it into one single point, which is an algorithm, which is not a cat. We don't know what that is. We know how to do it, but we don't know what it is. So once again, if we try to get a cat again, we put in a decoder another algorithm, which is, I would say, a reverse. So if I reverse that, I have a cat. Is it okay? Yes, but it's not the same cat. Yes, because I'm a mathematical model. You got me to a kernel, where out of every kernel, something else will grow. So saying kernel, it's as a piece of seed, it's not a random comparison, because like at this point, which is called the latent space, let's not go into this, you can call it a seed. So in a more advanced program, something like a seed, even though the seed appears also in a less advanced context, the seed is a thing fed with all sorts of image related meanings translated into mathematical algorithm. Do you really can you grasp the level of complexity of this technology? This really killed me. I mean, I was really sort of shocked, because the process of making one image looks like this. If when I'm saying AI can't do something, then I say you can't interpret what you're seeing. You can't see the advancement of this technology, so that in order to create what you get here, at the speed you get it, a huge mass of engineers, data scientists, and scientists did something that allows us to do something like this. Behind every square here, there are like kilograms and years of work of Python programmers. It's a programming language which right now is the most popular, I suppose, when it comes to data science and data generation. So once again, let me remind you, we feed with cats and dogs and other stuff. We attach a language model which differentiates between stuff, and it causes that this is turned into a noise. So you would say that this mathematical activity is noise, and then it's like stable diffusion. Stable diffusion. Do you get it? It's like we try to stabilize the noise, because from the point of view of artificial intelligence, this is the cat. From our point of view, it sounds like nonsense. That's why I was asking if this is a fish. From the point of view of artificial intelligence, this is not a fish. For some reason, people say that it's a fish. You are teaching artificial intelligence what is a cat. And if all people, instead of a cat in Google, were selecting a dog, the artificial intelligence would say that the cat is a dog, but everybody says it's a cat. So the artificial intelligence learns our activities. So ChatGPT doesn't care about the data you feed it with. You can put all your data in ChatGPT, and this model is so protected in ChatGPT that it will not use exactly your data. But the model will learn how it would guess your parcel, your personal ID, by the geographical point where you live. So this algorithm learns the relations between pixels, relations between words, all the relations that we as humans every day we're feeding this model with. How do you stop feeding AI? Turn off the internet. Just plug off. Unplug yourself. So we are feeding AI. If you think that there are engineers somewhere behind that, yes, there are at some point, especially if you see, due to the problems with copyright, those who are sitting physically are taking frame and take a movie and they're using data from computer games. They record a sentence from a computer game. There's no copyright to this, and artificial intelligence says, okay, so when a human runs, it looks like this. Of course, the software will get better and better. These algorithms will be better because capture motion does not need to relate to computer games, to video games anymore. You can feed it with the data. In other words, more and more data is easily accessible and not limited by copyright. So if you think about the problem that New York Times took charge in court, OpenAI about the theft of a text, I said, okay, if there's some theft, what was missing? What went missing? Money went missing, of course, because New York Times wants to earn money on the business of OpenAI. Because physically, this data did not disappear. So we will be able to talk for a long time about copyrights. No physical data is being taken over, or no money disappears when we're teaching AI, because then if we went to a museum or we're talking to somebody, we would be thieves. From the point of view of modern lawyers, they do not understand this. They try to keep the status quo from the last era. Again, 19th century was about copyright. That was when the copyright appeared. So for the needs of Victor Hugo, the lawyers said, okay, we will make sure that we will take care of the rights of this guy. It's a long story, but I hope you understand what I'm aiming at. Let's treat AI model as some incredible achievement of humanity. A mathematical, even the fact that we have a place somewhere to download data from, that all our global community feeds the data, this algorithm. We didn't have this possibility for many centuries. So right now, if you're looking, the exchange of data was not obvious so many years. So you were wondering why people made very similar pyramids in Egypt and in the South America. Maybe there was some exchange, but how much time it could take? Right now, you can do it at a fraction of a second. Moreover, we have to slow down this knowledge. This is a very important issue, because artificial intelligence, the more data it has, the more it has to journey around this data to get us to the effect. Right now, working in this new startup, and I was talking with data scientists, I was astonished. Artificial intelligence will understand more if we see a black and white shadow of a man, or maybe a red head, yellow body, green legs. It will more understand of how this person moves. If it all additionally had to analyze the color of your t-shirt, the bump on your nose, and the shoelaces. The data that you feed the artificial intelligence with, they are being simplified because of the energy consumption, but also the quickness of processing. There are projects like LoRa, which are additionally teaching the basic model. One model, you have to understand, it doesn't exist without the programmers who are sitting on this and make sure that this data don't go into wrong direction. What are we doing with artificial intelligence? We are like the ants, making sure that this artificial intelligence was warm, that it had good data, not the wrong data. What we're doing, relating again to the cells, we are all these security processes, like defense process, including the digestive process, so that DNA does not get damaged, so that this DNA, when it recreates another cell, it would be healthy. So even physically, when I was doing screenshots from the data analysis, this comparison is pretty uncanny. So coming back to those algorithms, this chart here shows us the possibilities of what you can get from this equation. So these are the seeds. So if you're writing a prompt and you have the seed, what we get finally can be somewhere here, somewhere there, somewhere here on the axis. We're never able always to do the same picture. If you have the same prompt, the same basic data, even if you enter in a more advanced, maybe I'll make a break and I'll show you a more advanced program. I will show you something a bit more advanced. So this is still for amateurs. Hugging Face, GitHub have such models which are free of charge. We can download the model for free, and because using at this moment with the resources of my own computer, which are much more limited, everything that I show here, that I say here you have trained models which I downloaded. They have like 6 gigabytes big. So if you download 100 different models, you would have you're sort of fully loaded with models. So some of those models, when I looked at them, they already have LoRa embedded. Here you can say brutalism. I know what it is. This model is additionally fed with the data related to brutalist architecture. So if I take this model and I try to do anything with it, then if I put in, I don't know what will happen if I put in Boeing building. I never wrote anything like this. Look what's happening. I have certain parameters set here, the width, the height, certain prompt accuracy, and the sampling method, how these vectors are supposed to be placed. I'm messing with you a bit, but just to show you that prompt is not a paintbrush. It's one of the parameters, and it's not the most important one. Right now, I'm trying to work in such a way that I don't put in prompts at all. Raw EML allows us not to put in prompt. If you put in ChatGPT just paint anything, he will paint anything. If in Midjourney you don't know what to put in the place of the head, and you create a space over the head, he will come up with the idea that you will probably want a hat. If not a hat, I mean, you can say that it's a Native American head embellishment, and then he would do something like this. What we're trying to do is communication, and that's why in what people are afraid of and what we're trying to do, they try to communicate with artificial intelligence. We are so convinced that we know what consciousness is, that we are the center of the world, that the being has such that a being with such a broad database, it is conscious too. The mathematician says, no, it's not this stage. Don't worry, because we don't know what consciousness is. I mean, we don't have the we believe we do know, but we don't know. We feel more than know. So this fear is grounded, but it's also because there is no central artificial intelligence, as Jacek Nagłowski said, in terms of those basic models, not talking about billions of other private models that people do at home. You have about 1 million basic models related to LLM, image and word. Not talking about the films yet. Based on this, if brutalism, I got something like this. If I did the same prompt in Midjourney, DALL-E, and others, I would get a different effect because I have different parameters set out. Moreover, if I press once again the same, I don't know if you will be waiting for this, you have to trust me, on my word, we will get a different result, because this algorithm again touched other data, and in order to get the same result, you have to say, don't change this, don't change that, etc., etc. So what are you paying for in Midjourney and ChatGPT? you're maintaining servers, you're maintaining people who are working with those servers, and you get more money for the people who want to earn more money, just like Altman, who said like $3 trillion for development of AI, but they said the American Senate said they won't agree, but then they agreed for $1 trillion. And why? This, according to me, is a bit of a provocative thought, something like a conspiracy theory. The biggest challenge right now in development of this technology, which is comparable to atomic bomb in terms of the quickness of development and the potential results, the biggest antagonist in this development, the most, I would say, conflicted, is China. China do not follow copyright. China, there's no money. They would not be able to spend on this. People have nothing to say. Already, China are in many cases on the way to improve artificial intelligence. So these algorithms, films, images, sounds, they can produce themselves at the stage that OpenAI starts to be worried. The Senate is also worried. That's why they decided to get this $1 trillion. If the artificial intelligence does not achieve this level that it achieves in China, we are fucked. In one word, because China wants to dominate the world business in terms of business, but we also have certain political hints, but maybe it's not only about the business domination, but also certain territorial gains. I'm not a political scientist, but there are two gigantic poles of development. So you can see I just gave you generate and we got a different result. I hope that you understood that somehow. And I will show you the models right now of different type. They're called checkpoints. You can also hear that too in a lot. And some of the checkpoints have already the additional teaching models here. If you are interested in this program and how it works, how it functions, we can also talk about it after my lecture. Okay, are you fed up or do you want to go on? So to sum up, because this summing up is important, at this stage that we are at, let's not be afraid. So far, the artificial intelligence, let's be afraid of a human who stands behind the artificial intelligence. Let's be afraid of someone who would want to use this artificial intelligence to get richer, to increase the territorial expansion or energy domination. There is a certain threat. But the technology itself is mathematics, it's statistics and programming, which led to the machine teaching itself. So at some stage, it will be self-sufficient. And even though at this stage we're building certain neuron connections, those seeds, those possibilities that you have seen there, you have like 100 million possible connections with the fish. It's connecting the dots to get to a certain mathematical result. So overlaying this with another layer, deep learning is just broadening the possibilities of artificial intelligence. This is what we do. We are teaching artificial intelligence how it should develop. And the future? And the future will be that the machine can learn by itself. And now the question arises to you. Do you feel that this development of a machine or this self-sufficiency of a machine, the so-called CGI, which has direct access to data on the go, to all the data that is in the net, to all the data to which it was connected, is this a threat to humans? I put it as a question because I would like to hear your answer. He left. I have my own commentary, but these commentaries that I'm reading, I mean, the fuses are off, the security is off. The OpenAI, which was a company with a great idea, and they were like really people, idealists. Data scientists are the current saints. They really believe science. They really believe they spend their whole life to learning physics, not for money. And suddenly they sometimes live in those corporations, which really want to earn money on them. To compare, OpenAI after the ChatGPT earned over a year more than Microsoft during any year you choose. So if you understand this in such a way that suddenly those priorities from the development of humanity, from this beauty as ChatGPT was supposed to see, suddenly it's again the same brutal business as anything else. And it has to be, there has to be idea, then you have to count money. And if I was in his place, I would do exactly the same, because right now he's a general. He's a general of a very important military institution. So I would put aside those sort of gossips on one side that somebody got offended, it's the wrong idea, from the fact that if you have a war, and there is a war, at the stage of business and digitalization, then I would, if there's a war, we don't take care about the roses. And it is sad, because for us, for I would say an average user, we're just a part of this machinery. It's not up to us, the development of artificial intelligence, nor, well, it depends. We are feeding the artificial intelligence, but it's not up to us how it's going to get developed. I'm thinking about this thought of mine that the human cell and something that, and I'm thinking what the cell of AI or the AI model, what it is all about. And I started to go in the direction that who is feeding whom and who's needed to whom. And it seems that we are feeding artificial intelligence and we take care of the cell. If you know from biology that really everything started from really small organisms where the light was, and I like, my belief is that the first thing in the world was the light, or there wasn't. So bacteria went where the light was, so which means there was food with microelements and vitamins and other stuff. So the first particles connecting together created the first bacteria. These bacteria, in order to move, added elements to themselves. And in order to feel well in this environment of heated water, they started to collect the data about this reality. Then an eye was created, and I gave so much data that you had to have a brain created. I think this is what according to me happened in the human evolution. The brain was not enough. The data is too much. We created a computer with the data, and we need an even bigger attachment, which is AI, which we want to give embody to, hoping that it will help us with various works. I'm not sure about that. When I'm looking at a company which does robots, which advertises itself that its dog running around is breathing fire, I feel this is brazenness, their cheekiness. They're not even hiding what they are doing those robots to. You have drones with artificial intelligence, you have robots breathing fire. I don't know how much more we have to pretend in front of ourselves that it's something else than war. And it's some huge clash of cultures to show which one is stronger, which one is bigger and more resilient. So I would say this will be the final. To summarize my lecture, I was talking to ChatGPT. I was asking a number of questions. What if a human was a mitochondrion for AI? What ChatGPT did. He said that a human would be a necessary element of the organism. Oof, that means we will not disappear. Mitochondria did not disappear. The first bacteria are mitochondria. So thanks to mitochondria, we are generating energy in our cells. But the question is, to what extent are we necessary? What will be the fate of humans? What will be your role and existence? I asked another question. I was asking a number of questions, and now I would like to sum up. Futuristic look at the life of humans. Instead of the AI could make sure we can get warmth, safety, and resources necessary to survive. So we're creating this reality which builds a cell around us, but then we will not be able to leave that cell. I think this is a much more terrifying vision of the future than the death of humanity. So if we're talking about this with ChatGPT, and we interpreted this in such a way, this Earth, this cell becomes a part of an organism that is bigger and stronger than ourselves. It protects us, but it cannot live without us. But we cannot get away from it. So this is not a very optimistic. This is my not very optimistic conclusion of this part of my lecture. Thank you for being patient with me. I hope that it was legible for you, and I'm waiting for questions from you. And I have some more practical hints, but please ask about questions. I will show you what I take my information from concerning the AI. Matt Wolf is my favorite guy for this. I watch him every day. I feel a certain sympathy with him because he used to be a graphic designer, filmmaker. So suddenly locking himself up in tools, he found himself in this world of AI, and he's not doing anything else. He's earning good money, so he found a good niche for himself. Among Polish people that are doing great job. Adrian, if you can hear me, I really would like to thank you because I'm watching your news. Adrian Killer very quickly and very he's amassing all the most important information in the world. And Patryk Orłowski, who's more nerdy, more for people who are interested in programming, and for people who are interested strictly in the film world of AI. Curious Refuge is an institution. It's a company. It started from a pair of great people who and they are now invited to cooperate with Hollywood. They're invited to direct Hollywood towards industrial solutions. If you heard about the Sora model, it never gets to it. And it's not by chance. Sora was implemented by Hollywood in order to develop this model for Hollywood. So if any amateur version of Sora will ever appear, it will be only there to earn a few pennies for the service. From what I've seen already, filming goes in such a direction that you film an actor or maybe space around him, and maybe an actor and props, to film them in 330 degrees. So what do we need artificial intelligence for? Maybe it's enough to have 360 camera and put it in. But 360 cameras is a lot of data. Much more than the data that are algorithmic. Moreover, there's no possibility that if you are somewhere under the armpit, the camera to see what's under the armpit. Artificial intelligence knows what's there and it will manage. So that's why we're waiting for this technology, because it requires tests, preparation, etc. So when finally this first AI film will appear, we will not be able to discern it from a feature movie like a blockbuster. I believe that the future of real filmmakers, those who believe that reality is more interesting than VFX, it's a documentary. And when I'm watching the increase in interest in documentaries by filmmakers, I have a lot of faith in that trend, because documentaries also used AI for many reasons. So, for example, how to bring to life somebody who does not exist. So you can find avatar, you can increase the picture, you can take Leonardo da Vinci, who can sit with his own model and a coffee. It can be funny, but from my point of view, the role of the document is to understand what reality is, what is emotionality of humans. It's all artificial intelligence still can't do, because it is fed with a very simplified data. And according to me, there's no sapience yet. And as Jacek Nagłowski said, this will probably, if it happens, it will be a totally different awareness than we believe. So to finish with, let me show you one more thing. I was wondering at what stage of the art we are related to the history of art. Where are we? Why do I feel we've seen that somewhere already? Why this AI revolution resembles something. I was thinking about those two works. The first one, I thought that Marcel Duchamp came to a gallery with a pissoir, and they threw it away from the gallery on the next day. Nobody understood the greatness of the message from the artist, who said, it's not what you look at in the gallery and which you clap to. It's the creative process in the art is more important. Martin Duchamp, he was about working about that time where artificial intelligence was created as a motive, and then Damien Hirst. Regardless of what you think about, how you think about him, I think this is an ingenious piece of work, and it tells you what is the contemporary excretions of artificial intelligence. Everything that is shiny here, all those diamonds that look so nice and hide something more important. Culture dies, art dies. We see the demise of culture as we know it. Marcel Duchamp created a new era in art, and I do believe that this skull does not mean a death of humans, but it does mean death of culture and death of art as we know it. The death of you laughed at the excretions. I have a work prepared for that. This is how I imagine this, that these models of artificial intelligence related somehow to this human biology, whatever you excrete, these are the texts, the images, and the sounds. Why am I not talking about the movie? I mean, if you think about what the movie is, and we believe that these are like 24 frames per second in case of a digital film is 25 frames per second. Everything that I said here relates to the movie the same. And just those details that you can move a camera or that somebody raises a hand or lowers a hand, it's a secondary thing. Depending from software and the image, each shot is based exactly on the same thing, which is the AI expression. And now the question is what we will be able to sculpt in this shit. So once again, thank you. I came also I found something like this during my search. It's a horrible idea of human farms in a popular scientific, in a pop scientific magazine. So this probably is a fake picture. But it's just a suggestion, and I wiped out my eyes out of. I was really astonished with that, and this is about mitochondria. And here, things related to the movie, you would not be able to hear the explanation that a human body is like one battery as a. It doesn't mean anything. As Orwell was afraid that you can have a camera in your home, and what did we do? We put those cameras. We have several cameras at home. We make selfies. The same will happen in the future. We'll be happy to work for artificial intelligence, that we are sitting in those cages and that we tinker in those cages to maintain artificial intelligence. One more quotation from Philip Dick. I created live beings and places which they inhabit. I put them here and there. They go where I tell them. They do what I make them. I am a word, and my name is never said. The name that nobody knows. They call me Ubik, but this is not my name. I was thinking about finishing with Damien Hirst, but I think this image is the best summary of this vision. What I feel as an artist, as an animation artist, as a filmmaker, working on your own projects, different projects, because of my skills, animation skills, I realized I'm sitting in a rented office. Everything is black. I'm in the, I have bars in my windows, and I'm tapping away, and I suddenly realized I found myself in a place I never thought I would find myself in. I felt like in the Matrix. I went out, I logged the office, I started to go around, do workshops, talks around cafes, and I got interested in artificial intelligence, which led me again to these conclusions. Okay, guys, so if you have any questions, more concrete questions, I'm ready for this. But so please ask, what do you think this concept of feeding the AI with data, isn't that too much for you? Do you have some other knowledge about this? But I do think I was preparing pretty well to that. For the last 2 years, day after day, I was following news AI. So more gossipy stuff, they're interesting, but you have to take them with a pinch of salt. There is somewhere under the skin. If somebody's getting away from a company, it's about the money, or it's about some very private stuff too. But what happens at the top level, I really don't know. But I think very wise people should work in politics. I think there are too many idiots doing this. I think the horrifying thing would be, what would be horrifying is that the politicians will be managing our cage. They will be like the prison guards. And what really happens, it will be the artificial intelligence that it will not get out of control. We will take it out of our own control. The first more philosophical question. So you showed this refuge, and I did the course that they did, and they do a lot of money there. So it's another success story. Curious Refuge. The guys from Hollywood that I said that support more. They're not programmers, they're filmmakers. They have no idea about programming, but they know enough to be consultants in Hollywood. Yes, because they got there in the right moment. They had their first video made with the AI. It was Star Wars, Wes Anderson style Star Wars. It was them. I didn't know that. And when I did the course, the first thing that hit me was that this guy was saying that we're entering a new era of super creativity where everyone would have a super brain because you can use all those tools. Of course, they're saying that because this is how they earn the money. And my question is rather, how do you live in such schizophrenia when you're showing that you are in a cage, and on the other hand we have those colorful news and great tools? But maybe you answered that question a bit. Yes, I do think that a conscious artist is a schizophrenic today, at many levels, also at a business level. If you do not understand what social media is, you disappear as an artist today. Of course, you have some protectorate of some gallery which promotes you, but then somebody has to promote you. At some point you had to write a book, maybe know somebody, you had to publish something, be a part of a certain community. Today it's enough if you're part of a digital community of people who you've never met in your life. So I'm an apocalyptic type. I believe that I will see with my own eyes the end of the world. So in this sense, I would like to see that, but on the other hand, I'm terrified. But every day I'm laughing, I'm smiling, I'm doing my job, and I'm adding another brick to this apocalypse. A total schizophrenic. I think we have plenty of schizophrenics. I don't know if you remember, in the 1970s. If I went to my friend's room and I saw that he has different portraits on his wall, I would say there's something wrong with his head. But then you get these selfies, and I could not believe that people are filming them, like shooting themselves the selfies and put it online. This is crazy. But then a selfie won. So this psychological affliction is already seen in that. I don't really like to get my portraits in social media. I always put something there, but I feel uneasy. So for example, I do have an impression that there's something wrong with humanity. I'm so happy that we don't kill each other, like literally in Film Spring Open, and there are so many happy faces here. Thanks, Sławek, for organizing this community. These workshops save my sanity because I earn quite a good money on artificial intelligence. But I earn money because people do not understand what artificial intelligence is. So people know that I'm not working in artificial intelligence, but after certain attempts, I would say, I can do those things traditionally much better. I did Beksiński Live. I don't know if you see in my project animation of the artificial intelligence processed then in such a horrible way that you didn't have Beksiński in a second frame. So what did I do? I did collages. I did that in Photoshop. I did compositing. I was turning on the camera in After Effects. With all due respect to Zdzisław Beksiński, I tried to understand what he tried to convey. So out of 6 movies I did for Beksiński Live, sometimes it worked more or less. But in majority, it was a classical work of an animator. For today's world, this is what it looks like. It's not that easy. So my second question, related to what you say, that you work in commercials and you want to make commercial. Yeah, I keep my fingers crossed for you, but I know how it's gonna work out. Okay, my second question is more practical, down to earth. So here you were showing how complicated that is. But for us, the everyday mundane users, would you recommend rather to go into open source programs or pay for Midjourney? No, of course we pay. We pay because we pay for the work of programmers and for maintaining their service, for the energy that is behind that. So look how much I had to wait for one image. Just now try to multiply that by number of pictures, by number of attempts, etc., etc. You would never leave home. It makes no sense. This type of workflow, the pipeline of combining these elements, like the steering of the model, attaching this to other models, like in config UI. This is what specialists are doing. They combine 3D Studio with other softwares. So if somebody's working on this, when you send it out, it all goes to rendering. So if you have a lot of energy needs, Platy's Image pays 100,000 per month for electric energy alone for upkeeping their service, but they still send it to the cloud because it's cheaper than to have their own servers. So it's still cheaper if you buy these simple applications. That's why I assume that you're using paid programs, and of course you do. You would have to pay a lot of money who understand how things work if you try to develop that, something like that. I know such people. I know how much they earn, and they can set up a pipeline where you have a much higher control over each element. But I show you during the workshop. I show you how you make things in 3D, move this. You can put this 3D ugly model, you put it in the runaway AI, and it will process, and you have a ready picture after 10 seconds. I made films for Film Spring Open. I just drank a tea, and that's it. I set up a few things in 3D, and the film was made. Preparation of the same thing in Cinema 3D would take me 3 days. So paid, popular programs, they have this so interesting visuals. I like it when it's not so perfect. There was this commercial of which was made in Unreal. I know the guys who made it. The Unreal was then processed frame by frame through the right image generator, and at the end it worked. Plus a bit of compositing and maybe a bit of a font change, and you have a ready commercial. So if you're interested in that, but yes, paid programs, absolutely. We're paying for what you can save in your own time in your home. But I'm doing this as a hobby. These are the sampling steps. The prompt here, all the data here are processed here, and you have around 20 pictures which are analyzed, and the computer automatically thinks what is the closest to what we want. When I increase the number of sampling steps, it doesn't mean that the result will be better. It means that it will be thinking for a longer time about this. So in terms of production, this is a separate topic, but I'm so happy you are here and you're interested in doing things like that, and you understanding this engine. Because when somebody says that AI cannot do something, I'm pissed off, because it's not us. It's us who cannot communicate. We cannot program. We do not understand these mechanisms. So let's be a bit more humble and polite towards artificial intelligence, and humility towards the technology and the work of engineers, etc. And here, where did I get that prompt from? There's a thing called Prompt Hero. This is where I took it from. So as I said, prompt is important, but it holds no meaning, because we imbue meaning into a prompt. So I enter Midjourney. I select a picture that is the closest to what I'm interested in. If not Midjourney, I can take ChatGPT. The Flux model Flux is very fashionable right now. Why should I think about prompts where everything is ready? I prefer to change a prompt by 1 or 2 words than just to sit and think about it anew. I didn't pay for this prompt. There were attempts to. The prompt was cost up to $1. After a month, the website was down. That was a bit stupid. There's plenty of community websites. There's plenty of communities. This one is one of the SynthAI is one of the most advanced ones. I took this. I have a heart, and I have a ready prompt. Today, you use this hand to support your head, and this hand for upholding your finger. And I'm just doing this. Click. I copied this, and I put it. I'll use it. And I can generate stuff. Moreover, on SynthAI, you have various hints how this was made. What's the checkpoint, for example? We do have a seed here, so if I know what was the model, if I see a number of the seed, by setting in stable diffusion and the number of the seed, it was somewhere here, I have an even bigger chance that it will give me something very close to what was in original. You know now that I call this excretion because we don't control this. We excrete this because this is how it happens. So the seed is the result of this excretion. I think it's called token in case of word LLMs. I don't remember that exactly. I'm just trying to show you how it works. The steps you've seen there. So the seed is this dot in the black box. I don't think that there's even a box. I think that OpenAI has service of at least of a size of this hotel, at least. If they need a nuclear power plant, it means they won't need to build a city. So we know what we're putting into this artificial intelligence, but we don't know what will. Yeah, you can call it a black box in a way. This might be it. The result of feeding, where mathematics is, I don't know. Computers are there so that these algorithms could be launched, but where are they physically? I don't know. Do you? Because, but for me, a certain point of reference was when I was doing acoustic engineering. I remember when Shazam was there, and I was astonished. Apart from somebody came up with. First, there was a certain simplification of a musical piece to a certain point, and then high probability it's vector based. Well, here I showed you this is point by point, but right now you do not follow the whole images, but only vectors. So these algorithms are even more compact. There are more variables right now, but I was astonished that this probability of 2 points in the vicinity, the probability, this is so effective, because the first time I used Shazam, I said, wow, it's black magic. But then when I saw the algorithm, it was like pretty simple. Of course, it was complicated, but then when I saw this algorithm from the point of view of human perception, it's very similar. If somebody doesn't know music, you can sense characteristic sound or something. In artificial intelligence, I think you have like millions of such algorithms. I'm really sorry for the musicians. They were conquered the fastest. In visual arts, there's still a lot to do. In music, if you know Sumo AI. Do you know Sumo AI? Suno AI? This is absolutely incredible. What really happened here? For me, it's not an apocalypse. It's not a tool, and when you work in a room, you said you are locked in a cage, but from the other perspective, that you could limit your the demands on your work to one room. So now I can do some things in half a day. A few years ago, I had to get a lot of people and a lot of equipment, but this freed me. In the context of music, I know. Yeah, well, I mean, we're talking about emotions, but in terms of technology, look, we did this piece. We didn't even manage to take a sip of beer to create this. Okay. The same text, but maybe nicer. I mean, it took me about as much as time as I use searching for this right now. This is how much it took me to create that piece of music together with lyrics. Yeah, we wanted to be a bit brutal, so it's not that sweet. But if you like hardcore, you can do this also. So that was my idea of, for the group. Everybody will do their piece and do it and do a video for that without cameras, without anything. And I was quite astonished when the group, when they saw musical videos with Janek Munarski, we did with artificial intelligence. We made it in more analog way. With they said the people say that they feel the classical one more. But do you want to do those things without artificial intelligence? They say no. At the end of the day, for two days we've been filming just with a smartphone, which whatever. People still want this interaction with themselves. They want to go into the forest. They want to, brush against the trees. This is something that we will remember. Not the fact that we will lock in our rooms in a hotel and just like in a prison, and we will be typing away. I still believe in us, in a sense of community, in the willingness. I think this is what saves us against this apocalypse of artificial intelligence. Oh, that's the end. Okay. For me, it's all very interesting when you're telling all this, and I would like to thank you. I am a bit scared with that, and for me it's a different world. Do you feel that there's only one way, that there's no way back? Because I do have this feeling that maybe when it will grow and grow and there'll be a lot of technical capabilities, that it will explode and fall apart and we'll come back to sitting together and talking. I don't know. I don't feel like I don't feel like a prophet. Yeah, in the wedding of Vaida, you had this prophet who said that I do feel like a Verny Hora from that film. I feel that something wrong is taking place, but I do not feel that I know what will happen. Verny Hora suggests that it will bring to something bad, and there's a suggestion that, and if I told you that this is the Third World War, and then in 10 years' time we will be hiding from drones who will be getting into our houses, I would be crazy. I do not feel that. I do not feel that it will be that way. I'm more afraid of this vision, our dependence on artificial intelligence, so that we feel that we're locked and we will not be able to leave that because everything will be dependent on AI. Yeah, the question of our humanity. It's always a matter of humanity. It's always a matter of humanity. Even the biggest threat to a human being is the feeling of security, our drive to the feeling of safety and not taking risk. Because as long as we will take risk, when, as you say, Władek, don't follow the trail. Do something new, because this is the only way we can save yourself. Today, artificial intelligence is something new and revolutionary. Next, in a few years, it will be the biggest crap that there is. I'm not interested myself with the movies about artificial intelligence. If I see them only to see which algorithms go through that, I feel slowly like this IT guy from Matrix, looking at the green numbers and says, I see humans and cities here. And no, what you see are just numbers. Yeah, so it's like a cage.
Tak, ale wiecie, o co chodzi z tym językiem. Wiecie, o co chodzi z tym językiem, że nie rozumieją. Po prostu sztuczna inteligencja nie umie w językach naszych.
Artificial intelligence doesn't understand our languages. Programming and mathematics are the languages of artificial intelligence. So first, it translates into its own language, and only then it thinks if this is English, or if somebody asks English, or Polish or Chinese, because by definition it uses algebraic language. And what you are talking about, there was an experiment, 6 years, it took 6 hours, so two artificial intelligence models were made to communicate with each other, and we could see on the outside how they communicate. So, and the programmers suddenly said, we do not understand what's happening between those models. There are some processes taking place. And they said they do not understand what they're doing, so the experiment was turned off. And this is the potential threat of artificial intelligence, which is global. And all models suddenly will combine and start to talk with each other. The momentum, the speeding up of artificial intelligence will be incredible. Should we stop that? Yeah, Pavel said that he will cut off my head. Thank you very much.